Hey, how's it going? James here with a little bit of an update, and I'm going to mix in some pickups. But guess we'll get the dirty work out of here first and do the update. And yeah, basically, things in my life have changed, much like it has changed for countless people across the globe. COVID has essentially killed my job that I was at for 2 years, and yeah, I knew that I was gone. Not that I was gone, but the entire facility was gone. It was basically said to us right at, of all times, I mean, freaking brilliant on their end. They tell us at Christmas last year that the building's shutting down and all the jobs are moving to the States. So the facility was going to be running for another, call it 12 months to maybe 18, they said at the time. They weren't sure because they had a lot of wind down to do and this and that and transition period and whatever they have to move everything from that facility out, and the procedures and all that kind of stuff. So, but I knew that I was not the first one at the door because I had a little bit of seniority, but I certainly wasn't going to be staying there overly long. It was, again, like probably just mentioned, that I was only there for a handful of years. So my time was written on stone pretty soon. So the only thing that I really wanted to get out of that place was my back pay, or retro pay if you want to call it that. With the pandemic, we were supposed to have a union agreement. I think it was, oh god, it was like 14 or 16, maybe even a year and a half behind, that they didn't end up doing that. And they finally came to a conclusion of X for employees because we know this place is shutting down. And even though they didn't really want to give us a red cent, it had been discussed that there was going to be retro back pay from, like I said, a year and a half or so ago. That thing should have been in the works for a new union agreement with the pay wages. And if I left early, I basically forfeited that. Even though it was my money that they should have paid me over the past year and a half, I would have been screwed out of it. So my first goal with that place before leaving was getting that. So I had to stick it out for a handful of months until that money was in my account. As soon as that cash hit my account, you best believe I was looking for another job. I was not waiting to be let go, and worst case scenario, if that happened, so be it. But I was not waiting around for that. The first thing that came along that was of decent money or whatnot, decent position, I was out of there. So thankfully, I did get my retro back pay, and I was able to get a couple of, let's call them electronic toys, things that I were on my want list. Did I buy them because I could necessarily just go out and buy them? No, it was literally one of those things. Well, I got a little bit of extra fun money. I'm gonna buy it, even though I probably shouldn't. You know what? We all do kind of stupid things, and like, I'm gonna just burn this money on a few toys. But thankfully, I did end up getting another job. I am working with my local hospital, which is awesome. The likelihood of myself being, what do you call it, laid off or whatnot is pretty friggin' low. Like, I mean, being in the medical field, it's a pretty safe bet with a hospital, so that's pretty comforting. I did not want to go back on EI. Yeah, I unfortunately did do that too before. This was the prior spring or whatnot. What was it, like March through June or July or whatnot? Much like the rest of the planet that shut down, that was included with myself. So that was 3 months plus on unemployment or the COVID relief fund or whatever you want to call it through the Canadian government. Did I want it to work out that way? No, but when the plant shut down, there was nothing. Like, I mean, far be it. Like, I mean, you know what? I went on like Indeed and other job sites in between to see if there was anything that I could do, and there was virtually nothing that I could get my hands on. And I even threw out applications, and you wouldn't hear back. But it was a pretty uncertain time for a lot of organizations and businesses. So, you know what? I get it. As much as I didn't want to collect a government handout, I really was forced to. And I will say I wasn't necessarily proud of it, but I needed to pay bills. And that was just, being a taxpayer, I guess it's kind of entitled to me, but I still wasn't happy doing that. But nonetheless, like I said, working at a hospital now, which is fantastic. It's part-time, so that's unfortunate. But the hours have been very, very generous over the past 4 or 5 months that I've been there. And I mean, like, very generous. We've had numerous people off, whether it be sick leave, vacation, disability, whatnot. So I'm basically getting full-time hours for a part-time position, and that's great. Now, those hours will dry up, and I will be more closer to the 4 to 6 shifts of pay period that I was promised. But you know what? I already knew when I got this that I would probably have to get a second job to fulfill the hours that I wouldn't be receiving there in the future. So, you know what? There's a happy front. I love what I do. It's great. Was I thrown into the medical field at the most inopportune time with the height of COVID when I started? Like, I was literally there. I think I started the middle or end of April, and the COVID numbers were high. Like, even just walking through the ICU, it was pretty eye opening what I had walked into. But I couldn't be happier. I really couldn't. So, having said that, let's get on to the more happier things, and that would be the handful of items that I did get. I'll get to the more expensive toys at the end here, but that was through the back pay that I was essentially going to be screwed out of from the paint factory had I left early. Let's go for some of the cheapies. Massive, and I mean massive, fan since childhood of the Terminator franchise. Obviously, Terminator 3 and onwards, didn't really care, but I was pretty young. I think I might have been, 9 or 10 when I saw Terminator 2, and that was one of those things. My mom had rented it, and I just came downstairs and like, oh yeah, I'm gonna sit through this. And she was a little worried, like, yeah, okay, whatever. The folks were more, they were normally into letting me as a young child watch that kind of stuff, but like, yeah, okay, whatever. And I tell you, it got to a couple of scenes where I remember my mom actually looking at me. She's like, "Are you sure you want to be sitting through this?" And my jaw was to the floor. I'm like, "There's no way I'm leaving this room. This is the most incredible thing I've ever sat through." And I was like 10. Yeah. So basically, I have been a monumental fan of the Terminator franchise ever since. So when I found these for $10 a piece, did I get a deal? No. But it's nostalgia, and I love the packaging for these. That is the laser disc for Terminator. The discs are in immaculate condition too. The person that did own these did take remarkable care of them. They don't even look like they've ever actually hit a player. And Terminator 2. I was able to grab them both at once, so $20 for the two of them. Like I said, I don't even own a friggin' Laserdisc player. I just wanted them to be good for the nostalgia, because these things are cool. So I might even just throw these on the wall as like, some wall art kind of thing. Obviously not damaging the actual packaging, but I'll figure a way hanging them on the wall. And who knows, maybe someday in the future when the planet gets back to normal, if Arnold comes to town and he's doing like a fan meet and greet or whatnot, like a Con Bravo or kind of thing where, celebrities show up and they pay them to show up and they do autographs for the fans, that kind of thing. If I ever see him come to town local to me, I'll take both of these and have them autographed. That would be super killer. Alrighty, next up is a store that I knew of because my mom had a trailer-to-trailer park for a handful of years. And then she ended up getting rid of it. And then she decided that her home here in my local town was getting too much for her to basically take care of. So she decided that she wanted to move back to the trailer park in a full-time capacity. It's like a year-round, winterized plot that she has now. It's basically a house or a small house. It's not even a trailer, so it's like a little community setup kind of thing. Anyways, I knew that this place existed. I'd gone there a couple of times before. And when I was driving up there to visit her and help her move in and all that kind of thing, I said, I'm going to pop into Vinny's. And it's like a little consignment, Goodwillish kind of store. It's a little off the rails in terms of how it's set up. It's based, like, I've seen flea market booths more well put together, to put it to you, but they do not charge retail prices like you see at Value Village and whatnot. They're pretty level-headed, so I ended up getting three games for $1 a piece. And that's not $1 a piece plus tax. They literally said $3 at the cash register, and I handed her a toonie and a loony. So I thought that was pretty reasonable. And I mean, they had a ton of games on the shelf, but they were all just shovelware garbage. Like your like Sing It and all that. The ones that are basically worthless to begin with, I didn't even bother looking at. So anything that was a little bit off from those, I'm like, okay, I'll give them a chance. So we have NHRA Championship Drag Racing. Not really a racing fan, but for $1, totally complete, nothing missing. Figure, you know what? Maybe I'll throw it in one day, and if I don't like it, I could surely throw it on a vendor table in the future for more than $1. Another PlayStation 2 game, and that is Risk Global Domination. Again, the reason why I went for these, because they're just in immaculate condition. They're complete. Like, I think one of them might have had a little bit of scuffing. And it's not this one. This one's pretty clean. It's probably the drag racing. That one there. I know it's definitely playable, but you could tell that it had seen a little bit of love on a coffee table, that kind of thing. And lastly, Blazing Angels, Squadron of World War II. And same as the other two. Everything's there. Looks really fantastic condition for $1. Like, that's one thing that jumped up stupidly in price for anything that I sold. When I was actually laid off the first time from COVID, stuff that I couldn't give away on a vendor table, people were like banging down my door through Kijiji ads to get for basically because they would have bored them at home. Like no joke. Things that I could not give away on a vendor table, people were offering $10, $15 a disc for at that time. So that was great. So I was able to get rid of some stuff. That was basically my job while I was laid off, was getting rid of crap in the basement that I couldn't move. And then I went to Justin's store, Fly By Night. He actually moved to a new location. I will be doing a video on that in the future, but this has really been speaking to me for a long time. I've known that it's a good game. I've just never bit the bullet on it. But that's black. And I really wanted this because I like the fact that I could take a really old friggin' game and throw it in my Xbox Series X and it works through the backwards compatibility. And it's got some visual upgrades too, if I'm not mistaken. So that's pretty cool. Just being able to take a game like this was late in the Xbox life cycle, but it's still obviously really old. We've gone from the Xbox to the 360 to the One to now the Series consoles, if you want to call them that. So it's like 4 generations behind. And I could still throw this in my brand new console. So that's pretty cool. Now we'll get to some of the more exciting stuff. I knew, again, this is the cash that I kind of burned from the back pay. I knew that I would be getting back into streaming eventually when things got a bit normalized for myself. So I decided, well, let's up my streaming game from the really, really cruddy headset that I have. It's like this little Logitech $30 thing where it's got one earpiece and then the part that goes in front of your mouth. So I decided to grab the new Xbox headset. This thing's still factory sealed. I haven't even broken the seal, but I will eventually be getting this hooked up to my streaming PC, and yeah, hopefully this thing will be nice for both myself for the in-game experience, but also a little bit more engaging for myself to be with the audience in terms of talking through OBS and whatnot. In keeping with the streaming theme, the new Dell Ultra Sharp Webcam. This thing is apparently 4K, all sorts of whatnot nonsense. This thing was actually stupidly priced. I full on little bit of buyer's remorse grabbing this. It was not cheap, especially for a webcam. Actually, especially for a webcam that I found out after the fact because I didn't read the friggin' description because I just assumed it would be there for this price. There's not even a microphone in this thing. So that's just crazy. I mean, the Logitech Brio is in the same price class as this thing, and it has a microphone built in. Somehow this doesn't. But I've never used the built-in mic on a webcam anyway, so I'm like, yeah, okay, you know what? I'm kind of screwed at this point and committed. So hopefully that will make the old streaming good too. I can use this for the main face cam with the green screen, hopefully clean that up a little bit. And then I'll still take my old Logitech C90, put that in another position in the basement, and maybe have like a multicam setup, that kind of deal. And lastly, something that I've wanted for years, literally 2 years, I've been trying to get my hands on this. And I finally found it at a reasonable price and in the condition that I was willing to buy it in, which is immaculate. I'm not talking used condition. This thing is immaculate. Basically open box. Someone bought it, said, no, I can't afford this, or I want something else, and put it back in the box. The gentleman that I bought it off of actually did use this camera. Spoiler alert, camera. But he took immaculate care of this thing. So, and I tried it out in person and whatnot before buying it, obviously. So I saved quite a bit not buying it retail. And that would be what you're actually watching this video on right now. So I can't show you the product, but I can show you the product box. That is the Panasonic GH5. Such a nice freaking camera to play with. I mean, the remote management of it through the app on the phone is awesome. Apparently there's a tether app that I've not tried yet, but you can do that through Mac and PC. Oh yeah, I got a lens for it too. That was actually part of the deal as well. Like packaging everything. I didn't go out and buy the lens separately. I got everything in one box or one lot deal. So yeah, that's been what I've been up to. A little life update. Like I said, some cheapy things that I ended up with here between, you know, a couple dollar games and that, and then the more expensive stuff. But I've always been wanting to get back into the whole YouTube and streaming thing, but as soon as I started in the hospital, I did my initial training days, which was like 6 or 7 of them, and then I was just basically thrown to the wolves. I was expecting a pretty slight transition into it, but no, it was full tilt. And the hours have been all over the place, but again, the pay is really good, so that's awesome for myself and being able to, you know, obviously afford things like living. But yeah, things will be coming down to a little bit more of a normalcy for myself. We've got a lot of people coming back from vacation, sick leave, all that kind of stuff, disability. They're all coming back in September, at least majority of them. So things will be getting a little bit normalized on my side. Again, I will have to have a second job to go with the hospital because 4 or 5 shifts of pay period is not going to cut it. But at the end of the day, what comes down to it is that I'm doing something that I'm actually happy with. And I was never happy with the paint factory. I was never happy doing the server admin and the equipment for the pharmacies. I haven't legitimately been happy at a job that I've done for like the past 12 to 15 years. And this is the first time that I actually am excited to go into work when I look at the schedule and drive in. So that's got to say a little bit of something. At least things have turned out for the better that I'm happy to go to work. I mean, there's not many people that can say they're happy to go into work. I actually enjoy what I do. It's pretty good. It keeps me on my toes, keeps me busy. And it's great work experience. I can move on elsewhere in the medical facilities in the future and expand. Now, to clarify, I'm not a doctor or anything, obviously. It's literally just more specialized cleanup janitorial work. I mean, we've learned everything there from blood spills to properly going around MRI machines and X-ray machines and all that kind of stuff. So it's specialized janitorial cleaning, but it's in a medical capacity. And you know, there's obviously things with COVID and whatnot too. I mean, donning the proper PPE, whether it be the face shields and special gowns and stuff. If there was a suspected COVID patient in a specific room, it's got to get, obviously, a lot of extra attention, that kind of thing. I could go into all that in the future if people want me to hear me waffle on that kind of deal. But anyways, I have no idea how long this has been running for, but if you ended up sticking to the end, I appreciate it. And there will be more frequent things from me to come. Now that I've got my whole little life transition kind of on the more completed end at this point. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time.